I was thinking about the construct of marriage, and how I just think it's like, it's so like, just represents the like new cliquey nature of our, I hate saying society because I feel like such a, you know, get out of this society person, but anyway, but I just think like getting married is like, it's actually one of the craziest things I've ever heard. Like, I say that about everything because I'm so dramatic, but like, I just think that's crazy to get married. Unless you have kids, like I understand when you have kids just because of like the whole legal thing, like you want like to have legal ownership over your kids, like I think that's why, but like, why are we getting married? Like that's crazy. Like why are we sharing an income? Like that's crazy. I think that the proposal of marriage is like, I want you to be my family and I want to be with you to forever. And also, I know there's people who don't want married but they still want to have like a family with someone, like that's actually fair enough, but like why don't you just have the family with them anyway? Like, why don't you just not get married and just have the family? Like, I just don't get it. This isn't me as well being like cynical or like a realist or like, I'm like, because my parents got divorced, I don't believe in love. Like, that's not even my buzz. I believe in love so much. Like, that's my whole life. Because of that, I don't believe that staying with someone for the rest of your life is evidence of that love. I think that it's the opposite. Because you cannot promise to someone that you're gonna stay with them your entire life. Like you cannot promise to someone. So even the proposal of marriage, you're starting off by lying, straight off the bat, lying to your partner, like straight off the bat. The longevity of your relationship doesn't determine how much you love each other. And if you loved each other so much, don't you guys want the best for each other and not like force each other into anything? You're lying straight off the bat because you're gonna die emotionally, physically, because we change like every few years. Like we completely change as people. And your partner might need to change as well, and you aren't in control of that. People devote themselves to their marriage rather than devote themselves to themselves. And if you're not changing or growing, then you're stagnant. And I think we become more devoted on the external rather than the internal. So then that's why we suffer. And I think that marriage is an example of that you suffocate yourself because you want to stay in this marriage. And you betray yourself because you think that staying in a marriage is going to make you happy when really you need to grow and change. And sometimes you can grow and change with someone for sure, but like you have to let go of the idea that you failed if your relationship ends. Because if you don't let go of that, you'll be too afraid to be honest with yourself and what you want. And I think that the whole construct of it is so cliquey because it's like, I want you to be my family. So I'm going to do everything for you and no one else. That's what the right wing, like that's what their buzz is. They're like, I want a gun in my house to like keep my family safe because my family's my priority over everyone else. That's separateness and it like suggests that some of us deserve love and some of us don't. When all of us deserve love and all of us are actually family. And I just want us to all be family. Like, let me take care of your kid. Like, let me over for dinner. Like, let me be in the family. And you can be in my family too. Do you know what I'm saying? And I know that for my family, I love my siblings so much more unconditionally and also in a way where like I would do anything for them. Like like they're my priority in my life because they're my family. If someone in my family was to be like horrible or whatever, I wouldn't be like, oh, they're horrible, I hate them so much. I would always have like compassion for them because they're my family and my blood. But that doesn't mean that I will like put myself in a dangerous position or even hang out with them or like spend time with them. But I have an understanding and love for them, and I'm always rooting for them because they're my blood. That's how I feel like we should feel for the whole world. And this whole marriage shit and this whole family shit is bullshit. And we should all just be family to each other. Like and that's the way it used to be, obviously, because it was like takes a village to raise a child. Everyone was like helping each other. And now it's just so nuclear and cliquey. And I think even like friends are so cliquey. Everything's so cliquey and like, oh, they deserve my love, they don't. Like everything's in these little boxes. And like you actually need to be fine if your partner leaves you. Like you need to be fine. But like we so just like put a plaster on our loneliness by things like that, by these fleeting things like marriage and like, you know, trying to create something that doesn't exist. Do you know what I mean? Trying to hold on to something we can't hold on to escape our loneliness, even though we'll never be free from it if we go down that route, because that route is fleeting and it's not real. Yeah, and I also think that like me personally, I'm just gonna keep saying me personally, I know I'm 22, so it's just like, can it like wait till you're actually in love also, basically. But this is when I can see clearly. Do you know what I'm saying? This is when I can see the truth and see clearly. It does not fucking depress me. Genuinely, it doesn't. It's the opposite. It does not depress me to die alone or to not have like a partner when I'm dying. Oh, big whoop. Big whoop. Literally big whoop. Literally big whoop. It literally doesn't depress me because nothing physical represents my happiness. My heart represents my happiness, and that could look like anything. And I hate the whole thing of like, this is my family now, that's your, because that makes me sad, is the whole like, this is my family and this is your family, and you know, it's separate. And like, I just think that's really heartbreaking. Do you know what I'm saying? You're limiting yourself for no reason, and you're putting all your needs in one person. Oh yeah, also marriage though, I think it can be like cunt to get married. Like I would get married if it was like in like a cunt way, like in like a Gabrielle Maddie Healy way, like in a way where like we're getting married in Vegas. Do you know what I'm saying? Because that is something that I would do. And I also like the ceremony of marriage, and I like the whole like proposal thing. Like I love that, but like actually having like a, you know, marriage is crazy, but because you should be marrying yourself, like you should be having that with yourself. But we go out as, we just are running away from ourselves our whole lives, and that's a reflection of that. Marriage is a reflection of that. And there's love all around you, like you don't need to be doing that. Like I just think like we're just limiting ourselves and limiting our hearts and who we can love and what we can love. And I think we should be giving compassion and understanding for everybody and giving to everybody, and not just like a particular set of people, because why would you do that? Because that also suggests that we're not all equal and that some people are better than others because of our own attachment bias. Do you know what I mean? But that bias is like created by fear. Do you know? And we have the potential to love the whole world. And I think that if we all did that, and I don't mean necessarily not get married, but I just mean like what it represents when I'm talking about. It's not actually getting married, but you know what I mean. I think that we all just forget that we have the potential to love all, and that if we all did that, then I think that there wouldn't be so much tragedy and suffering in the world. I got packages. I got my books that I got, so I'll just show you guys my books. I got In Search of the Miraculous by Ouspensky. Last summer I started listening to the audiobook of this, and it was like unbelievable. But I stopped because it's really, really spiritually like intense. But I really want to try and read it because I think that I'm ready for it. Do you know, it's such a gorgeous book. Like, it's really dense. Like, I have a song called Everything Happens, which is what basically it's about this guy who's like seeking kind of spiritual enlightenment, and he has like a guide. And he says the first thing you need to know and understand is that everything happens and you're not in control and you're a machine and things are just happening to you. And I have a song called Everything Happens, which was inspired by that. But I never finished the book, so I'm gonna... Oh my god, with a foreword by Marianne Williamson. And she wrote she wrote A Return to Love, which is one of my favourite books. So that's a synchronicity too. Cool. It's fucking hot, like it's spring outside, like it's so warm. This is also a thick one, but it's Women Who Run with the Wolves by Clarissa Pinkola Este. Very, 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 very dense. But I've heard great things about this book. So also the writing is very small. To do with women and the wildness of femininity and bringing yourself back to that. I'm pretty sure that's what it's about. But that'll be fun. I'm at the moment reading James Baldwin's Another Country. I just finished Tell Me When the Train Arrives, which is another James Baldwin one, and I read Giovanni's Room before as well, so I'm actually just obsessed with him. But this is about, like, I guess the experience of being an African American, and also I think the ripple effect of oppression, and also how people who aren't marginalized kind of, they put someone's actions down to who they are rather than the context take into consideration, you know, their oppression or and how that affects them. But I think that James Baldwin just writes such good characters. I just love his characters so much. And yeah, and the Vivaldo, I just have a crush on him. I just have such a crush on Vivaldo. And he's also, I love the way he writes women as well. And don't really understand yet because I'm not even halfway through. But I also just feel so fucking good today. I feel like I'm in one of those eras where I'm just like, feel myself growing and changing and realizing things about myself and realizing mistakes I've made and stuff. And I just love when that happens. Like, I love when it's my fault because then I can change. Do you know what I'm saying? I just love when something's not satisfying. Do you know, you do something and it doesn't feel satisfying, and then you just don't know what the answer is, and then just you find the answer and it's just so satisfying, and it comes up in such like mysterious ways, and I just feel so satisfied. And it's also like getting so sunny outside now because it's getting spring and I'm so excited. I think I'm growing and changing so much. This is crazy, but I think it's gonna be right. I think that I'm remembering my strength and remembering my spirit and my soul and remembering my free will. I've said this before, but like, I think that for the past few years I've been cultivating silence and cultivating that silence so that my real desires and my real opinions and my real thoughts about the world can derive from truth rather than influence, external influence. And I think that most of us are led by external influence and led by external validation because we feel that that will make us happy, when obviously it's not going to make us happy because we've tried that and it doesn't work. The external world is fleeting and external validation is fleeting and it's inevitable to die. The only thing that cannot die is your spirit and your soul and you, which is the omnipresent silence and stillness behind everything that exists. And I feel like you need to be in touch and have that be accessible to you and acknowledge and remember that before you can enjoy your life and change your life, and use that as your guide rather than using external forces as your guide. I'm in this stage of my life where I actually am allowing myself to be free and not held down by other people's problems, because I think that has held me down most of my life, is being held down. I remember I was with people and I was like, this person's so held down by this person's so held down by this, and it was really stressing me out. And then I was like, I'm being held down by the things that people are being held down by. Like, I'm held down by other people. Like, I'm afraid of people being afraid. Do you know? It's like that ironic, thing that it always comes down to. And I've realised that so much, and I always knew that, but I've really full body realised that about myself, or just about like, because even being like, I realised that about myself is just so personal, and it makes it more daunting to acknowledge your darkness, to say myself and identify it with it so much. That makes us more afraid to acknowledge our darkness because we personalise it so much.
and we think it makes us a bad person, but it's like everyone has darkness and they all just have different disguises. So you just need to be alert and aware of all the different disguises that your darkness may wear. If you're afraid of your darkness, you can't truly be silent and you can't truly be still, because you're constantly trying to distract yourself or run away from something that's just there and it's not yours, but it's just there and you have to acknowledge it. And I just got a text from my sister saying, God is here and it's time to have fun and play. But anyways, one thing that really helps me to change is, I read this in a book and I saw it in a movie, the acknowledgement of that everything happens to you and that we're all machines, which I said earlier in this video. But acknowledging that, and then, because you have to wake yourself up from the machine, like splash water in your face. And things you can do for that is doing new things. So like, one guy would brush his teeth with his left hand instead of his right hand. One guy would open the door with his left hand instead of his right hand. Like small little things like that like changing it slightly so that you're like acknowledging the fact that you have free will. That's something. And also listening to new music that you're not comfortable with listening to, like listening to full albums instead of playlists, and like listening to genres you don't usually listen to. It opens your brain to new things and new experiences, because sometimes we get trapped, but it's ourselves that are stopping ourselves from changing, that are limiting ourselves from changing. Because what stunts us is thinking that we know ourselves. What stunts us is trapping ourselves in the identities that we've created or other people have created for us. It's saying, I'm like this, I'm this type of person, I'm this type of person. It's like, you're not any type of person, you're ever changing, you're not consistent. And if you acknowledge that as well, you're able to be vulnerable and honest with yourself, instead of being so stubborn in your mind of like, even like, I'm a good person so I wouldn't do that, or like, I'm kind so I'd never be mean to anyone, or like, I'm, you know what I mean? It's like, of course you will. Do you know what I mean? Because you're not kind and you're not mean, you're neither of those things, you're nothing and you're everything at the same time. And acknowledging that will help you detach and disidentify from those things, and then you will be free. I'm free in everything you do, and I'm acknowledging that more in myself, that I'm not this type of person, I'm not that type of person, and also acknowledging that everyone is equal to me, and I must accept myself for who I am, and I must accept others for who they are and enjoy them how I can. Not use them as identifiers to myself and use them as validation of, oh, I'm this kind of friend to this person, so that makes me amazing. I give everything to this person, so that means I'm a good person. It's like you trick yourself in all these ways and all these different things. It's like, oh, I have this, so that means I'm this kind of person. I can stay here and I never have to change, and I never have to acknowledge my darkness within that. You're trying to appear to be something, you're not it. You're only the appearance of it, you're not actually it. So all you can do in this life is to be and not seem. It's to just be. And if you were just being, you're ever changing and you're just going with the flow of life, and you're not kind, you're not mean, you're not anything. You're just going and you're just being. And to be aware of that hanging on in yourself, because that's always going to exist. The voice of trying to hang on, the ego of trying to hang on to things and identify yourself with things. And if you grow that awareness, one of the things that I say to myself is, I'm just looking. So if I have overwhelming thoughts, I say, I'm just looking. And then I immediately get into that awareness that is behind everything, that just watches everything, which is truly who I am. And I'm able to disidentify from the thoughts that I'm having, or from hanging on to things. Because hanging on to things will keep you stagnant, and the greatest catalyst for change is to acknowledge that you're ever changing, and that to not be afraid of change, because change is the best thing ever. I love change. It's just so great, because each time you realize something about yourself, you realize the darkness, you realize, you know, you step into the light, and then things just improve and get better, and you become more and more free. And my goal is to be free, because you cannot be happy if you're not free, and you cannot be joyous if you're not free, and you cannot be, you know, in truth if you're not free. My goal is to be free, and it's nothing else. It's no resemblance of freedom. It's no symptom of freedom. It's freedom itself, because anything else is meaningless and a road to nowhere, you know. I can't stop eating. Like, I just want to eat all the time. I'm just like, when can I eat? Like, I just want to eat all the time. But yeah, I'm just being really kind to myself, and I just feel so free. I just feel so free right now in my life. Like, I just feel like I can do anything. And also, like, these overwhelming feelings will come up when you allow yourself to do what you want. I remember someone I was talking to was like, I just feel really mean and awful if I do those things, you know, for myself, or if I'm not giving all this shit or whatever. And I felt like that as well. I feel like that in my life. If I choose myself in scenarios, I just feel awful, or something that like, or do something that challenges my comfortable identity in that I'm like kind or good or whatever. I feel so mean, even if though I'm not being mean, I'm just doing something actually normal for other people, or like just like self-serving. And everything you do that's self-serving is serving to everyone else. Everything you do for yourself, you're doing to everyone else, because you are a reflection of everyone else, like in a loving way, I mean. But if you are like choosing yourself, sometimes that feels like you're being really, really mean, or like something terrible is gonna happen. That's always the feeling when you start choosing yourself. It's like, oh God, mine is like, I'm gonna get in trouble, or I feel wrong. Like, I always feel like I feel wrong. Like, I have to get it right. I have to always make the right decision, or else I'm wrong, or else I don't deserve love. And that in itself is something to be acknowledged and as absurd, because no matter what it is, that's absurd to feel like that's coming from a belief that your love is to be gained and that you're not unconditionally loved. And it's a necessity to acknowledge that you're unconditionally loved, so that you can move through the world with love, and you can move through the world with freedom. What I like to imagine is, you know, last night I was sleeping, I felt really anxious, and I just heard, everything's being taken care of, Saoirse. Everything's being taken care of. Everything's being taken care of. It's okay. Everything's being taken care of. And that just makes me feel like, oh, that's so good, you know? Everything's being taken care of for you. And also, I also like to just imagine like all of these people, because I think I'm in trouble, I'm wrong, I'm in trouble, I'm wrong. You always attach that to someone. So it's usually like, you know, when someone says, you know, everyone hates me, or everyone thinks this of me, they usually have a few people in mind when they're saying that. There's someone that they're calling everyone. There's someone that they're pointing to and putting on a pedestal who has all the answers. And that's also absurd, because no one is better than you, everyone's equal to you. So that's also a thing. So I think of, who do I think is saying that I'm wrong? Who do I think this? It's usually your parents or your family members, because we're still trying to undo the conditioning that our parents know everything, you know. But you're just like, I'm gonna get in trouble if these people hate me, I'm wrong. And I think of whoever I think of, I just imagine them holding me with pure love and just saying, I love you and I forgive you and it's okay. Even though their bodies aren't doing that in real life, even though their attitude isn't doing that in real life, but they are, because they are that omnipresent awareness that is also you, and that awareness is inside them, and they want the best for you too. That's really how they feel. Do you know what I'm saying? Even if their body hasn't caught up to it yet, that's really how they feel. I love you and I forgive you. And I always think about that when I feel shame or feel regret over things I've done in the past, or feel like unbelievable shame. I just imagine the person holding me and saying, I love you and it's okay and I forgive you. And I imagine that with myself as well. Because forgiveness is what we all deserve, no matter what, because that will always lead us into truth, which is acknowledging our darkness and healing our darkness from what we did. Do you know? I hope that makes sense. But anyways, actually I'm going to do an outro. Thank you so much for watching, guys. And if you want to subscribe to my Patreon, I genuinely post all the time, like podcasts, like 40-minute podcasts, probably like 3 times a month, 4 times a month. Looking to someone else to feel whole. That's not what you truly want. You don't truly want that person. You just want to feel whole. But you think that other person is the method to feel whole, when it's not. And that's the illusion. So your heart knows how to get there, but you just have to listen to your heart. In order to listen to your heart, which is God, which is the universe, which is whatever you want to call it, there needs to be silence. And all that external influence and running outside yourself is all noise. Do you know what I mean? It's all bringing you away from yourself and bringing you away from your heart and your heart's desires. What helped me the most was learning how to cultivate silence, so that I could hear God's whispers. Because God is always telling you the answer. You always have the answer. And sometimes I do videos, sometimes I have affirmations on there, sometimes I just post because I feel like it. just little like messages for the day, and I post music and stuff there too. So if you guys want to support an artist or support me, because I go a lot more in depth on my Patreon about my life and things, because I don't feel like afraid to. I'm like so pale, it's crazy, but